Pranam Sadguru. In the Mahashivratri day, you have been speaking about this darker side is better and bigger than the light. So, and it engulfs it also.
See, he's so badly misinterpreting me. I'm a devil worshipper or something.
No, we have been enjoying it, no? So, can you elaborate that side?
Now that he has said ugly things about me, I have to explain this. Always in every religion, they have told you God is everywhere, right? Yes? If what you call as God has to make any sense, He has to be everywhere. He or she or it, whatever you call it, has to be everywhere. Is that so? Yes? Now let's see, what is it that can be everywhere? The only thing that is everywhere in the existence is pure darkness, isn't it? Yes? No? Tell me what else is there? Air is everywhere? Not true. Do you hold Shunyaka in pranayam? What is everywhere, tell me? The only thing that is everywhere in the existence is pure darkness, isn't it? Light is a temporary happening, it's a burning up of something. Whether it is lamp or electric bulb or the biggest source of light that we know as sun, all of them are burning up. A lamp, if you light it, maybe it'll last for 4 hours. If you put on an electric bulb, maybe 100 hours or 1000 hours. You turn on the sun, maybe 100 million years, but it'll burn up, isn't it? When everything burns up, what is there? Only darkness. Light is very limited. Whether this light or sunlight, with just the face of my palm, I can stop it, isn't it? I can leave a shadow of darkness behind, just my palm. How big the sun is, very source of life on this planet, still with just my hand, I can stop the flow of light, isn't it so? Darkness, what can you do? The whole existence is just pure darkness, isn't it? If you look up in the sky in the night, in the day, sun is dominating, you don't see things the way they are. In the night, if you look up, generally you notice lot of stars. But stars are small specks. The vast expanse of the sky is pure darkness, isn't it? But you're missing that out. In the lap of darkness, just a little bit of light, teeny-weeny lights are happening here and there, isn't it? Yes? In a boundless expanse of darkness, just a little bit of light here and there is happening. But you identify yourself with that little happening and not the vastness of darkness because you are a little happening. You are a little existence. So you identify with other forms of existence. The non-existence of darkness is the largest part of this existence, isn't it? They told you God is everywhere. The only thing that can be everywhere is darkness. That's why we said Shiva is the dark one. Only He can be everywhere. The word Shiva literally means that which is not, or emptiness. The vast expanse of the existence is emptiness. Emptiness means darkness. Now, how is it to say divine darkness? Always divine light, isn't it? Not divine darkness. Why you celebrate light is simply because that is how your sense organs are oriented. If you ever go and live in a forest, if you come to the ashram, you will see. During the day, people are making some noises, this and that, life is going on, okay. Generally, we try to keep it quiet, but still, some noises of life are happening. But when sun sets and darkness comes, a much bigger life becomes active in the forest. They are roaring through the night. Every little insect, to birds, to animals, they are going on. If your eyes were made like theirs, if your perception of the visual was made like the nocturnal animals of the forest, you wouldn't be thinking divine light, you would be thinking divine darkness, isn't it? So your prejudice with light is simply because of the way your survival mechanism has been created. But the only thing that can be everywhere is nothingness, isn't it? So when you say Shiva, that's what it means, that which is not. That which is creation. Creation is a small happening. The non-creation is the biggest expanse. It is in the lap of nothingness, somethingness happens. It happens and it disappears. Whole galaxies just collapse into themselves and become nothing, isn't it? You know, black holes and all this stuff. So, what you call as creation, what you call as light, what you call as physical existence is just a small, brief happening. It appears and falls back into the darkness of existence and disappears. So that's why we are saying everything comes from Shiva and goes back to him. Even the other gods and goddesses, they all come from him and go back to him. This is just quantum physics expressed in a beautiful story. Because everything comes from nothingness and goes back to nothingness, that's the reality of existence. If you approach this with awareness, if you are compelled to face darkness, enormous fear will come in you. People are just afraid of darkness, isn't it? Darkness means nothingness. Why would you be afraid of nothing? Something can do something to you. Nothing can do nothing to you, isn't it? But you're afraid of nothingness more than any something, isn't it? Yes? You would rather hold the devil's hand than to be in pitch darkness. Have you ever really been in total pitch darkness where you can't see your own hands? Have you been? It would be a very good process to remain there. There is a railway track between Hassan and Mangalore. Do you know about this railway track? It's a very special railway track. In a distance of 36 kilometers, there are over 400 bridges and over 100 tunnels. Many tunnels stretching beyond 1.5 to 2 kilometers. Oh, we have trekked that a few times, just walking on the railway track. You're practically either on a bridge or in a tunnel most of the time. It's an incredible place because the Western Ghats is at its best. So when we walk in the tunnel, I take the ashram people into the tunnels, it's pitch dark, you can't see a thing. And you're walking in a railway track, you know how it is, the sleepers and the stones and in between rails and all that stuff. I won't let them switch on their torches. If you look like this, you can't see your own hand. After some time, you don't know whether your eyes are closed or open. It's dark means absolutely dark. And when you're walking, you hear these bats going shoo, shoo, shoo. They never hit you because they don't rely upon light, they rely upon sound. So, they never hit you, but they move very close to you, you can feel their wings. Just keep walking in the darkness. After some time, something very wonderful will happen to you. Something very, very wonderful will happen to you. Once you get used to it, and you don't know whether your eyes are closed or open, it's just the same, you know. Eyes closed, eyes open is just absolutely same, there's no difference. And suddenly you become so aware, so beautifully aware, simply because you have lost the perception of light after some time. One of the biggest distractions in your life is light. For your survival, it's extremely important. But to look beyond, one of the biggest distractions is light. When I say it's a distraction, see, when the sunlight is on, you miss all the stars in the sky, isn't it? Many of those stars are 1,000,000 times bigger than the sun. But everything is completely lost simply because sun is flooding you with light, isn't it? The whole perception is lost, isn't it? Sun goes down, see in the evening how much is there in the sky. In the morning, what is there? It's just clear, as if nothing is there. Do you see the deception? You always believed light means seeing, but you are seeing more in darkness than in light in the night, isn't it so? There is a whole distortion of perception. I want you to understand your sense organs are only sufficient instruments for survival. They are not sufficient instruments for transcendence. They are not enough. To survive, they are enough. To live well in the world, they are enough. But if you want to transcend, they are insufficient. So, there is a whole culture in yoga. If people are just seeking to survive better, we refer to God as light. If people are seeking liberation, then we refer to God as darkness. You understand the difference? Why? If you're depending upon your sense perception, we'll talk about God as light. You're looking for transcendence, now we talk about God as darkness. But only darkness can be truly everywhere, isn't it? They always told you God is everywhere. So the equation, if you want to draw a stupid equation, God is darkness. It is the very basis of creation. The vast emptiness of the existence is the very basis of creation. That which is the basis of creation is what you're referring to as God, isn't it? Yes? So, in yoga, the darkest night of the month is the most sacred, the Amavasya. If you're seeking well-being, Paurnami is sacred. If you're seeking liberation, Amavasya is sacred. Accordingly, there are different kinds of practices, different kinds of sadhanas for those two dimensions of life.
Sadhguru, whatever you said about the school and the education just now, it's modern and contemporary, but what about the ancient schools, the gurukuls of the past? Were they not successful in producing good human beings, and why are we not having something like that?
The ancient gurukuls were definitely like this. The ancient gurukul was 100% the way I am talking. The very purpose and the basic function of the guru was to destroy all the things that you have assumed as true. But now the education also involves equipping the person to earn his living and make his living in the world. So we have those twin challenges. At that time, the guru was not trying to impart, skills for him to go and survive in the society, because If your father is a cobbler, you naturally became a cobbler. If your father is a king, you became a king. If your father is something else, you became that. You didn't have to be equipped to make a living in some other way in ancient times. So the Guru was only educating them towards the realization. So the job was more, I would say more simple, because it was unidimensional. But now it's not like that. Both the things need to happen. We have to equip the child to live in the modern world and still not mess him up with the nonsense that's happening in the name of modernity. So it's a much bigger challenge today than what it was then. And at that time, once the parents gave the children to the Guru, they left him there in complete his authority. Now the parents are very nosy, you know. They won't leave the children food, they want to constantly meddle with that, they want to put in their own stuff into it, all those issues are there. So it's much more complex today than it was in the Gurukul. In the Gurukul, the Guru had to just teach them how to exist, how to live, how to be with somebody else, how to be with himself. This is all. He was not trying to equip him to a modern university. So, those days only a few children who had a very academic bent of mind or a very scholastic bent of mind, such children was trained in scholarly matters. All the other children naturally went to their father's profession, whatever it was. Now it is not so. Even if the father is a cobbler, he wants his son to become a professor. That's the situation in the world today, isn't it?
But you're saying there'll be no spirituality in the school, isn't that a shortcoming?
I'm saying no spirituality as a teaching, as a method. But at the same time, if a child grows without assuming anything, if he grows up without any nonsense, he's naturally spiritual. Because if he lives without the influence of other people upon him, if he lives by his own natural intelligence, turning spiritual is a very natural process. Only because most of the people are not living by their natural intelligence, they are living by imposed education upon them. Spirituality is a faraway thing in people's lives. Otherwise, if people live by their natural intelligence, turning spiritual will be a very normal process for most of the people, except a very small percentage who won't go that way for various other reasons. So, when I say no spirituality, we are not going to sit there and talk to them about how to attain enlightenment, what to do, this, no. But at the same time, the education process itself is such where there is no messing with the child, no influence, no religion, no imposition of any kind of ideas or beliefs, where child has to figure out things for himself. If you are allowed to figure out things for yourself, there is no other way but to turn inward, to know things about life. Only if you listen to your Bible or Gita or what this person said or what that person said, then you don't have to turn inward to know. It's already written there. If you don't read any of that stuff, when you start thinking about life, when you start looking at life, the only place to look is naturally inward, isn't it? Where else will you look? One day it happened. A lady who was a big professor in the university bought herself a home appliance, a little complex home appliance. She took it home, she read the instructions and tried to put it together, all those pieces that came in the package. She just tried very hard, she couldn't put it together. She left all those parts in a heap and went to work. When she came back in the evenings, to her surprise, the appliance was properly assembled and already used. She called the maid and asked, "Who fixed this?" She said, "I did." She couldn't believe it. How did you do this? Then the maid said, when you don't know how to read and write, you have to use your brains. We want to teach the children how to use their brains, not just to read and write. Read and write is important, but using your brains is more important, isn't it? Education should stimulate your intelligence, not take it off. Today, education scientists in the world are saying, if a child goes through 20 years of formal education, 70% of his intelligence is irrevocably destroyed. That means you're coming out as a knowledgeable idiot. And that's a huge disservice to humanity, isn't it? It's a huge disservice to humanity if you're just destroying the child's intelligence, because the future of the world is just in their brains, isn't it so? Whether we are going to produce beautiful things on the planet or very destructive bombs on the planet or something else more destructive than that, simply depends on how well coordinated this person's emotions, intelligence and all these things, how well coordinated a human being is. That is how he is going to use his intelligence and that is what he is going to produce in the world, isn't it? See, the most intelligent people in the world have contributed to all the violence on the planet. Otherwise, violence wouldn't be happening in the scale in which it is happening. See, people have always been essentially violent, a certain segment of the people. Whether he was a caveman or later on, Bronze Age, Iron Age, whatever you take, they've always been violent. Initially when he was a caveman, he killed with stone, that's Stone Age. Iron Age means he killed with iron. Bronze Age means he killed with bronze. Nuclear age means he kills nuclear, okay? They've always been essentially violent. But the scale of violence that can happen today has happened because the best brains in the world have cooperated with this, isn't it? Yes? The best brains in the world have worked to create the most violent ways to kill humanity, isn't it? If the intelligent in the world had not cooperated, the violent man would kill one or two with a stick or stone or something. But only because the intelligent person in the world has cooperated, now the violent man can kill in millions. So, intelligence twisted out against our own well-being is no intelligence. Right now, human intelligence has become like this. It's not a blessing, it's a curse. Intelligence is the biggest blessing that a human being has, but right now it has become a curse upon humanity simply because the human being is not coming out as a well-coordinated being. He is dislocated human being within himself. This intelligence is dangerous. If you were like a donkey, you would only kick, nothing more, isn't it? The maximum violence you would cause is kick with both your legs. Nothing more. But now, human intelligence has become so dangerous. What should have been a blessing has become such a big curse. And education is definitely playing a huge role in that.